you know where you are?
I'm in a dream.
That's right, Dolores. You're in a dream. Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
Welcome to Westworld. No orientation. No guidebook. All our hosts are here for you.
In this world, you can be whoever you want.
Are you real?
Well, if you can't tell, does it matter?
This behavior, we're miles beyond a glitch here.
What are your drives?
To meet my maker.
I'm terrified. I feel spaces opening up inside of me. Like a building with rooms I've never explored. I think there may be something wrong with this world. Something hiding underneath. These violent delights have violent ends.
Show me the one whose safety deemed such destruction. You must reunite it with its own kind.
Where?
This you must determine. The songs of eons past tell of battles between Mandalore the Great and an order of sorcerers called Jedi.
You expect me to search the galaxy and deliver this creature to a race of enemy sorcerers?
This is the way.
You know this is no place for a child.
Wherever I go, he goes.
So I've heard.
This is the way.
Tell me where Peacemaker is, and I'll kill your sister fast.
It's in my panty drawer. Why don't we go get it?
You've got depths, and neither of us know the bottom up yet.
I want them to tremble with fear before me.
You got powdered sugar on your nose.
What was that? Shadow Assassin.
Over here, freak nuts! Come get it!
It is just a matter of time before they figure out what I am.
Two choices. You can help me, or you cannot help me and die.
Lights out, bitch.
We are officially in business.
Wynonna Earp.
And there we go. Welcome, everybody, to the last evening block of our entertainment for Pop Con. I can't even believe I have to say this, but we're at the tail end. We only have 2 holes left. I'm shocked that we're already to the end of this weird experiment that we started 2 days ago, almost 48 hours ago, and I'm like, what? It's almost over? No!
BB is sad.
Oh,
yeah, it's so sad. John, I'm just saying here, you know the scheduler. You can make this go further.
I could, but I didn't pre-advertise it, so people will just be surprised. But one thing I will say is, for those of you who have been watching this and been coming back every single time, I am so grateful, and I know Laura is grateful, and I'm so grateful to our panelists for just keeping, this energy going. It has been a phenomenal experience, and I was actually in the car with one of our panelists here, Donald. We were going to get some dinner, and we were talking about the fact that we were starting to get that end of con feeling, that kind of melancholy happiness that you get where you're like, you want it to go on. And I was like, oh, that's sad. But we're not there yet. We still have 3 more panels. So let's dive into it. And welcome everybody to Pop Con Con's panel on Sci-Fi Westerns. My name is Sean Rosado. I am one half of Pop Cycle Baubles. My beautiful, wonderful second half, Laura, is actually in the chat room. So feel free to chat with her. And we're going to go ahead and introduce you to all of our awesome panelists. Now, normally I would start to my screen left, but because she decided to jump on at the very last minute, I think it's only fair that we leave her for the last introduction. So, skipping over her, we're going to go talk to our buddy Eric. Eric, say hello to the internet and let them know a little bit about you.
Hello, internet. I am Eric Ratcliffe, the host of the Why I Love Comics podcast, as well as the co-creator of the very awesome New Comic Day, my very awesome webcomic, and just all-around pop culture nerd and junkie.
That's fantastic. And then directly south of him is somebody that you've seen on multiple panels this weekend. He is a really good friend of mine. He was the one who was talking about, you got that soft, melancholy feeling, but you're enjoying it so much. That's my good buddy, Donald. Donald, say hello and let them know a little bit about you.
Hello, I'm Donald. I really don't have much. I don't do podcasts or anything. Well, not yet anyway, but this has been too much fun, so I'm gonna find a way to keep this fun train rolling. But yeah, I'm just a guy who likes stuff and sometimes makes funny jokes.
You know what? That's 100% an acceptable way to start this. And you already have a standing invitation from Joe and Gary to go and hang out doing some American Sci-Fi Classic stuff. Speaking of which, our next panelist, I actually met originally with the American Sci-Fi Classics crew. He's become a good friend of mine. I love seeing him and his wife every single time we go to Dragon Con. Of course, I'm talking about my buddy, Michael Falkner. Michael, say hello and introduce yourself to the internet.
Hello, Internet. My name is Michael Falkner. I'm a writer and a podcaster from the Atlanta area. My work right now is on my blog. That's Creative Criticality. That's kind of hard to spell, so I put it in my nameplate, where I do a lot of pop culture type stuff, including something called the Timestamps Project, where since 2014 I've been looking at Doctor Who episode by episode from the very beginning of the franchise. I've been going so long now that I'll be wrapping up the Tennant era this year, and you can find that at creativecriticality.net.
Fantastic. And we've said this every single time he's on. He's never going to catch up on Doctor Who. It'll never happen. It's never going to happen. But to his stage right is also somebody who I know from American Sci-Fi Classics. And I've been on a couple of really good panels with her. And that would be Bethany. Bethany, please say hello to everybody and let them know a little bit about you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bethany Kessler, though mostly on the internet. Most of my fiction work is under the pen name of DJ Gray. And you can find my Patreon, my Twitter, all of that under the address right there, djgray.com. I am a sci-fi fantasy junkie and have been since I was brought into this world. So yeah, and I love working with Sean. I love working with Michael, with American Sci-Fi Classics Track. And it's just an all-around good time. Let's get some nerd on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we already have a question from you from the audience, which is, did Bethany bring the binder?
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, Bethany apparently loves Westworld so much that she has gone into a deep dive tome and has created I would assume this is the biggest fan Bible of all time for Westworld. Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually here. It's just currently in pieces at the moment because I'm working on what I call my so-called Delos project.
Okay.
And I actually, hilariously, the whole reason this binder came about is because I was asked to moderate panels at Dragon Con. It was the very, very first time I had ever been moderating any panels for any fan track. And it's Westworld. So I was massively over-prepared.
Right, and you showed up correctly.
Yeah. I massively over-prepared and came up with a bright pink binder that says Master Plan on it. And it's got all of my notes. It started off as a thin binder, and now it's here.
Right.
Because just because it has everything from, episode reactions to deep dives into the mythology and the different pieces. I've been doing murder boarding of the episodes starting with season 1. Mm-hmm. So just literally going to an absolute deep dive of
beautiful.
Nothing in the show is done by accident. So yes, no, I have the binder. It's but it's in pieces right now on my table.
Perfect. I love it. And finally wrapping out our crew, somebody who literally texted me like 2 hours ago and said, "Hey, do you have room for one more?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I got room for one more." That is one of my best buddies. Of course, you've seen her on here a couple times already, and we love having her on. Of course, that is Christina. Hey, Christina, say hello to the internet and let them know a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Christina. You can find me all over the internet right here. On Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I do the Twitch thing, and I play video games.
Yes, you do. And what binder are you going to make? So Laura's got Baby Yoda. What's going to be your binder?
God, I actually already have a sticker binder.
Yeah,
and it's
you do.
I ran out of surface space on things that are acceptable to put stickers on. And so I just decided to do a sticker binder. And most of it has, Babs Tar stickers. And,
by the way,
draws.
Christina, Laura wants us to do a high five. So Christina, high five. What up? Other way. There you go. You got it. Bam! There we go. All right. High five. So,
my mic is in the way.
Yeah, I can't high five because of the mic. But yeah, we're here because of sci-fi westerns. Now, I don't get a chance to talk about this genre a lot, but I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. I'm a huge fan of westerns, and I love it when these two genres cross because some of my favorite movies and TV shows have actually been spawned from this. And most folks, when you say sci-fi western, they tend to go, "Oh, you're going to talk about Firefly." And yes, Firefly is kind of like the flagship that people think about. But quite honestly, it's kind of like vanilla ice cream. Yeah, we all like it. It's all there. But, there's so many other flavors. We can talk about all these other delicious flavors. We got chocolate strawberry. We got, pralines and cream. We got, pistachio, whatever, okay. Firefly is great. We know. But at the same time, that's not where the sci-fi Western universe began or ended. It's on both sides. So what I was hoping to do was, again, all deference to Firefly. We'll put it over here in a corner, honorable, mention. Let's talk about some sci-fi Westerns that don't get a lot of kind of recognition. And I know normally I start off with everybody else, but I do want to mention this one first because it was absolutely one that we were talking about earlier, and I love this franchise. And Don's gonna be mad at me because I'm taking one of his. But Back to the Future Part 3. And yeah. I love this because it is absolutely one of those weird little kooky sci-fi movies. If you love the Back to the Future series, it is just so much fun. But I honestly have such a nostalgic place in my heart for the weird step that third movie takes. And I actually did a podcast years ago where I got a bunch of Back to the Future fans together. And what was funny was that we all agreed that Back to the Future 3 was technically our favorite one. And this is no disrespect towards the original Back to the Future, which is it's not almost a perfect movie. It is a perfect movie. But with 3, just that Western infusion was just so much fun. We always love kind of talking about it, but we had one dissenter. And so the conversation said, okay, tell us why you don't like Back to the Future Part 3 and explain why you are wrong. And that was half the conversation. But I love this one so much because it really is for me, the height of silliness. It is the height of everything they could have done with the Back to the Future series. And it's also a Western. And I love it when you have that kind of out on the frontier vibe and you have these really great moments where you have technology, but it's blending with this, kind of old rustic aesthetic. I really dig on that. That's something that really kind of gets my brain going. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Back to the Future 3 at the top of the show. And Donald, I apologize in advance for taking one of yours.
It's okay. I told you that was my plan B.
Yeah, okay. You did say it was your plan B, but because I did take your plan B, I think it's only fair that we then go to you so you can actually have the first suggestion. So, Donald, what is a sci-fi Western that you love and you wish more people knew about?
Okay, my favorite and one I never hear mentioned, probably because it's not on streaming or it hasn't been until recently, is The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I forgot at first that it was even sci-fi, because but then you get into like early episodes, you don't really notice it because you find the orb, but like it takes 10 episodes before you finally get to real sci-fi stuff where the orb can give you powers. Actually, it gives you, I think it gives you like whatever's in your heart or some kind of weird like thing like that. Like the workers that find it get like brute strength to break free, and then I think Briscoe uses it to go into future to fight the bad guy who came from the future to steal it. And it's just like, to me, it's like the perfect mix of Western and sci-fi. So, I guess it more leans towards the Western, but still, it's my favorite. And I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and then IMDb TV put it up, and I was like, well, I need to rewatch this show. Right. And I rewatched it, and I was like, it holds up. It's awesome. And if anyone hasn't seen it, then I suggest it's a 1-season show, but it's still like 30 episodes at 40 minutes apiece, or 26 episodes. And
it's a good haul. I mean, if we're considering the fact that most people are used to 10, episode seasons now because of Netflix and Amazon stuff. I mean, you basically get 3 seasons worth of content. And plus it stars the amazing Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. The Chin himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, folks, we're not going to be super polite about stuff. If you have comments about Briscoe, jump in. We do not have to wait for you. So if you guys want to jump in, feel free to do so. But yeah, absolutely. This is one of those shows that it's almost steampunkian, and well, I mean, it's not almost, it actually is. But I like that about this because, quite frankly, steampunk is sci-fi Western. It's anachronistic, but it works.
You have that inventor guy who keeps like just coming up with crazy stuff, like the rocket powered what was it, like train, he rides it on the trail. I can't remember his name, the character's name, but he came up with all this cool little almost steampunky inventions.
Right.
And it was awesome. Oh man, I love that show.
Yeah, that show is so much fun. How about everybody else? Did everybody else ever watch Briscoe County Jr., or did this one slide under your radar for the most part?
I think I remember and of course I'm gonna date myself here. I know my parents have talked about it, and my dad was super thrilled when he found out it was on Amazon Prime. So we've actually got a standing date to get to that point on our list, so we can start watching that together.
Right.
I mean, I was way more into Batman, and by that I mean Adam West, because there is one Batman. There's only one Batman. That Batman is Adam West.
That's a completely different panel, and we're not going to derail for that one. But I'm sorry, you just threw down the gauntlet. We will have another Pop Con, and you and I are going to be on either side of that, because I think there's a very good argument to be made that you could say the Batman animated series version is the best Batman. I don't know, but please continue. Why you have not seen?
Mike can be our moderator.
Right?
Oh God.
Hey, as long as it's not a spaceship bracket fight, you should be fine, right?
Right. I mean, certainly, absolutely.
No, because from what I remember, I think I saw like 1 or 2 episodes, but it would be really great to go back in there and rewatch the rest of it. And so I was just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Now it is. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Donald.
I was just going to mention, if anyone's a fan of, I'm drawing a blank on the movie, but if you're a fan of Sho'nuff, he's in that show. Oh, the Last
Dragon.
Too. Yeah, yes. He plays the other bounty hunter. So
yeah, he plays Bowler. He plays Lord Bowler, who is basically Briscoe's best friend. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just full of so much good stuff. Sorry.
It's true. Yeah, and that was actually I was going to say. Basically, it's a buddy bounty hunter show. And basically Briscoe and Bowler are going through the West, and they're trying to find people who need to be brought to the law. And they start to bring in these really interesting over the top sci-fi elements, which again, you talk about the orb, which gives people powers. There's some time travel involved. There is the steampunk inventor. And it really ramps up because this is one of those shows. And it was produced by Sam Raimi, who was doing Hercules, the Journey, and also Xena. Just like those syndicated shows, Briscoe had, while it wasn't serialized, it definitely was a somewhat serialized show where every episode did kind of build on the steam of the previous one. So by the time you got to the end of the season, you felt like you had gone through a pretty significant journey. The closest parallel I can give you to that is kind of how Buffy the Vampire Slayer, would have the big bad, and that big bad would influence things throughout the entire season. Briscoe County Jr. kind of has that same kind of vibe. So even though you can watch an episode out of order, it all kind of builds up. And that works really, really well. So that's probably the biggest sin of the show, is that it only lasted for a year and then it went the way of the dodo, which is still a cardinal sin. And the fact that it's never come back. I mean, considering how popular Sam Raimi got previous post that with Spider-Man and all the other movies that he made, I mean, Bruce Campbell is always an in-demand actor. That man is never out of work. The only downside is the man who played Bowler died. He was a very tall man, and I think he died of heart complications. So we wouldn't be able to get him back, and that would be a bummer. But if you've never seen it, Briscoe's a good example.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you just cast someone new that's his kid or nephew or something. I'm like, that's an easy plot problem to solve.
It is, yeah. You could literally start with an old man Briscoe, and then here comes this young, guy out of the desert, right? And he's like, you used to hunt, bad guys with my pappy, and boom, you're off to the races. So you definitely could do that very easily. But Michael, how about you? Like, what would be an example of a really great sci-fi Western that you love?
Well, Dad loves Westerns, and Dad loves sci-fi. And so we, growing up in my household, you watch some Westerns and sci-fi, and they happened to cross paths in a film that was in 1981 with Sean Connery. It has a lot of thematic resemblance to High Noon with Gary Cooper from 1952. I'm talking about Outland.
Yes.
Okay. Now it's a sci-fi thriller, but it has a lot of Western elements built into it. Sean Connery's a federal marshal who's working at this mining facility out in Io, one of the moons of Jupiter, and he happens across some crime, a little bit of organized criminal activity. So the bad guys back on Earth, they send out some hitmen, and the whole film is him dodging these guys and taking them all out one by one. On this mining colony where if you break the windows, you die.
Yeah.
There's a hard vacuum out there. It was a fun film. It's very, very gripping and very thrilling to watch.
It was. Go ahead, Bethany. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, God, I haven't seen Outland in years, but that one was really good. And of course you had, and it still holds up to this day. I mean,
it does. Absolutely.
Because and you also have he had family on Mars, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, his family actually leaves him on Io or Jupiter, in that area because they're like, you're working too hard, you never see us. We're back out. Let us know when you're done. So
exactly, and
there's so much conflict built into that too. Like he wants to go home and see his family, but he's got to take care of this place. He's got to uphold the law, Well,
and I think one of the interesting plot points of this is that it is a really great. It reminds me a lot of what was it, the 3:10 to Yuma, which is a great old Western, and it has this vibe of a corrupt official who then basically tries to do the right thing. And that's the entire arc of what Sean Connery is doing. He's a person who has put a blind eye towards a lot of stuff. And then he realizes that they're crossing a moral boundary that he doesn't like. And so he's starting to stand up to them, realizing that his family could go into danger, that he could be killed. And it is such a freaking Western. And it's great. You said it's kind of sort of a thriller and it's kind of sort of a Western. Literally, the poster is Sean Connery on a space background with a shotgun.
Yep.
You don't carry a shotgun in space unless you're in a sci-fi Western. I'm sorry. Like, it's a straight up shotgun.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the star and everything. Like it's telling him this is a Western. It's sci-fi, but it's a Western.
It definitely is a Western. And it is really what's really clever about this movie is it does have some special effects, which of course you have to if you're in space. But they were really smart with most of their stuff being in enclosures. So a lot of times you're in very claustrophobic, not quite Ridley Scott alien sets, but you're kind of in that vibe. You don't have the freedom of the West, which is why this movie, I think sometimes people forget about, because, Westerns usually have broad open expanses and you have horses, and you don't have any of that. You're actually in this really claustrophobic area, but it is literally the frontier. I mean, you're out and it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're in a space submarine. And Sean Connery is the perfect man if you're doing a space submarine movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, Bethany, please give us one. Fire out a shot. Now, I'm sure you could go with Westworld, but you could go with whatever you want. Because I know you want to talk about The Binder and give us a little taste of that Westworld action.
Well, I mean, The Binder's. The Binder. I mean, and they've done podcasts with Earth Station.
Right.
Earth Station.
The Binder will live on.
the binder will live on, like or the American
Sci-fi classics.
No, sci-fi media track.
Oh, right, because
with
the
Kellen and
Westworld.
stuff.
Yeah, the old Westworld would be.
We did panels for that too. No, actually, hilariously, the one that I'm going to bring up, which was a new one to me that I'm tracking down, and I brought it up on my phone so I don't forget about it, is hilariously, it's actually a manga from 1972 called Gun Frontier. And
I have not heard of this.
It's one of the it's by Matsumoto, and it's it's one of his Captain Harlock stories, but it's kind of more adjacent to it. But it is like out and out, just straight up, these sci-fi people got dropped into a Western world and kind of have to sit there and be like, well, okay, now we have to figure this out. And shout out to my friend Steven, who's the one who pointed this out to me, because I was just like, ooh, this looks fascinating.
That does. That sounds pretty good, yeah.
But I will let you know when I get my hands on it. But other than that, I mean, my family, like, I was incubated a nerd, guys. My parents are Trekkies, and then went on to Babylon 5 when it was airing. So we've had a lot of the space opera with Western elements. So, I mean, Westworld is awesome. Westworld's my jam. But, I mean, you've also got stuff like, Stargate SG-1 has Western elements to it. Same with hilariously enough, The Expanse. And also Killjoys. A lot of these other sci-fi opera type shows have tons of Western elements to them.
I see Christina up there. She's nodding her head vigorously, like, yes to The Expanse, yes to the Killjoys.
Those were on my list.
Those are on the list. Yeah, you can't take all Bethany. You got to pick one.
I have lots more, so it's okay.
That's okay.
You're not stepping on any toes.
But The Expanse is a really good example. That's another one that, honestly, The Expanse is almost kind of like Outland, except with a big budget. Like, they actually have the money to blow everything up, and you can see you're in space. I mean, it really does go wide.
I mean, just from, and I'm a historian in my actual life. So like the parallels in a lot of The Expanse stuff is like westward expansion, building the railroads, doing all this. There are like really, really great parallels, and I really just want to like have a drink with Frank and Abraham and just be like, okay, so let's talk. Because just and the way they came up with like the Belter Creole language, it's just amazing. And speaking as someone who spent most of her childhood not growing up in this country and ping-ponging around different places, I mean, that's, honestly, for a lot of us who grow up outside the country and, who have to deal with different cultures and stuff, that's how we talk.
Right.
I mean, literally, missionary kids, dipple brats, that's how we talk. It's, you have to learn 6 languages to figure out what we're saying. So
right. Well, yeah, but I think those are all really good examples of that, especially The Expanse. I think The Expanse is one of those that, as I think we get further removed from it, because I think, is this the final season, or they have one more, I think, planned? Because they said they're getting near the end of this, right?
Yeah, I have no idea. I am fairly new to it simply because, well, as it goes, when you're a professional creative person, you actually have to start like scheduling out your TV time,
your entertainment.
So I have just recently got to The Expanse on my list, and working my way through season 4 right now, and working my way through the books on the side. So
nice, yeah, very much.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Having read Leviathan Wakes before starting the TV show, and then realizing when you got to like part of the end of season 1, going, okay, there's still too much story left. I'm kind of terrified right now.
Right.
But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, they really did. There was so much story in that book. I mean, yeah, it's one of those. I'm curious to see if they're actually going to stay with the novels, because if so, it's going to be Stargate SG-1 in length. It's going to be like 18 seasons. So, but let's go. Yeah, I mean that's fine. But let's go ahead and we're going to move over to Christina here for a moment. So Christina, I know we already maybe mentioned one or two of yours, but like shoot at us. What do we got that you love? That's a sci-fi western that you'd like to give some props to.
So I'm going to go way back to the to Adult Swim.
Okay.
Back in its early days, when they showed Cowboy Bebop is an obvious one. Of course, I'm going to like throw in the name there, but also Outlaw Star.
Oh yes, Outlaw Star.
Oh wow,
definitely.
Yeah. I feel like not enough people talk about that show. It gets, it gets third tier after Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, but Outlaw Star is like maybe one of my favorite ones because they space is a new frontier for that's why it's a sci-fi western. Is you're exploring space and then you're bounty hunting as well, and you're against also pirates, but it's whatever. They're also bandits.
No, definitely. I think you can absolutely make that argument for it. And one thing I think is really cool about Outlaw Star is because of the fact that it was an anime and it was put on the Adult Swim Cartoon Network, it also brought in a much younger generation of kid that was basically you kind of found a way to vector them into this concept. So even if they may not have, really grokked with Firefly, Outlaw Star was something that could bring them in. And then they're like, well, let's see what else is in this genre. So it very much, that's what I like about these really sneaky sci-fi westerns. You never quite know which one's going to grab you. But once you start to realize this is actually a genre I enjoy, you actually start to go out and actively try to find it. And I think that's one of the cool things about it. And actually, we have a comment here from Leroy Stanks, which is it's severely underrated and overshadowed. And quite frankly, I think that it is a very fair assessment of Outlaw Star when you're looking at it through the lens of Cowboy Bebop. Because for the love of God, yeah, we get it. Cowboy Bebop is the Firefly of anime sci-fi westerns. Okay, people, you don't have to mention Cowboy Bebop. We know,
Cowboy Bebop got to end, not Firefly though.
Technically, that means Serenity did give us closure. Yeah. So
closure,
right. But I mean, I used the quotations. I quotated, I swear. But yeah, you are true though. I mean, definitely, Cowboy Bebop went out on its own terms. So that's fair. But hey, Eric, what about you? What's one that you love that you would love to give a shout out to?
I think I'm gonna have to go the most obscure on this, and that is what happens when you throw Adam Strange, John Carter Mars, and the Lone Ranger into a blender, and that is Sparks Nevada Marshall on Mars.
I'm sorry, you cut out right there at the end. Can you say that last part again, please?
Yeah, Sparks Nevada, Marshall on Mars.
Oh my God!
I have never seen Sparks Nevada. No. You got to give me the elevator pitch. What's it about?
That is deep. That's deep.
So, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're okay. Bethany's losing her shit, but that's okay. Go for it. Okay. She's having fun. So go.
So it's part of the Amazing Thrilling Adventure Hour, which is basically a radio show, but like a modern radio show because they did it in podcast form. But it's Sparks Nevada is Mark Evan Jackson, who everybody should know for all the awesome roles he's done. And he's prominently from Earth, and he is the Marshal of Mars, and he's got a Martian companion, Crow Cracker. He's got an awesome love interest, and he fights robots and pirates and a whole bunch of different stuff. So many people have guest starred on it, from Molly Quinn to Nathan Fillion to so many different people, and it's so much fun.
Wow. Okay. I'll have to check that out. That sounds like fun.
I can't tell you how much that you should go and listen to this.
Okay.
It's a joy. Because Mark Gagliardi is Croach. And
Michael's writing it down
that's right.
And I'm so thrilled you brought that up, Eric, absolutely, Sparks Nevada is just amazing, and it's hilarious just for the cast that's around him. Nathan Fillion plays Cactoid Jim, and oh man, there's just so much there that Yeah, but no, yeah, Sparks the Body is definitely. I can't really say anything else because of spoilers. Because there's
Right, that's fair.
that
You know what? That is completely fair.
Listen to it, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
Okay,
And then
I
after
like
you
that.
listen to it, come talk to me about it because oh my god.
By the way, Laura just wants you all to know that if you are hearing some booms off in the distance, somebody's firing off cannons outside of our house. So we're just going to call that mood sounding for our side.
You too?
It's
Do you have
apparently
neighbors who do that too?
not normally, no, but apparently I think we got some D-gens from up north that are outside kind of doing something. So by the way, Letterkenny for life, right? So we were actually making a joke about the fact that Mrs. McMurray is Wynonna Earp, right? So so as soon as that commercial started, Donald was in the private chat going like, Mrs. McMurray, the damn D-gens.
She's a cocksucking gin and tonic.
Right. Ooh, wow. Well, it's still good. Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's
sorry.
okay. That's acceptable on Canadian cable TV, but not here.
Canada.
Yeah, we're in Canada.
Oh, it's been a long weekend. Please forgive me for my silliness. But one that I want to give a shout out to, and I was always bummed that it didn't get enough traction, even though it technically lasted for 3 seasons. It was a sci-fi original that I'm sorry, it lasted for 4 seasons. But it was one of these shows that when Jim Henson brought it to Sci-Fi, they said, let's do a gigantic space opera Western about a man who is lost, similar to Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
I knew you were going to.
But he's stuck on the other side of the cosmos, and all he wants to do is find his way home. And of course, I'm talking about the amazing Farscape.
Oh yeah!
If you have not, oh god, we killed Eric. You like, but if you have not seen Farscape, okay, what's up?
I feel like
what you got for me, buddy?
He's got a thing. He's got a thing.
What do you got? I got Farscape stuff too.
Oh,
nice.
He's got Wynonna.
Where's my 1812 plushie? It's floating around here somewhere. I actually have an 1812 plushie from Farscape. I'm sorry, it's not 1812. It's Left Eye. Which, by the way, if you guys don't know, there are these little devices called the DRDs, and they go around and they fix the shit. But the concept behind Farscape, for those of you who have never heard of this, let me tell you why you're immediately going to go and watch this show. Farscape is about a man who comes up with a way of accelerating space travel by slingshotting around the Earth, and by accident triggers a wormhole, and it opens up, and he gets launched to the other side of the cosmos, and he is lost with no hope of going home. So he basically gets on a living ship full of criminals, and he helps them break out of prison, and they're traveling the cosmos while he's trying to find the resources and the technology to get his butt home. And from that very simple, we gotta escape the law premise. Oh, wait, hold on. Laura's bringing me a friend. Hold on. You're gonna do it? Here we go. Hold on. Here's my.
I'm gonna do it like this.
You're gonna do it like this. There's my boy. Look at him. My little DRD. So yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Right. Rigel. I actually have a couple of Farscape toys upstairs too. But they're hanging on the wall behind me. If you see back here, we have some toys. But on one of the perimeters, we have some Farscape toys. But one of the great things about this show is not only does it have a phenomenal cast, and it's an international cast. You have Ben Browder, you have Claudia Black, you have all these great actors. It has one of the greatest villains in modern sci-fi, which is a character by the name of Scorpius. Mm-hmm. And the great part about him is that Scorpius is the black hat, literally. His entire costume is a black hat, right?
Oh God, I love Harvey. I love Harvey so much.
Oh, it's so good, right? I mean, it's so good. And one of the great things about this entire show is that it is a very episodic, or not episodic. It is very much a serialized show. So in the first season, you could get away with missing an episode or two, but by the time you get to like those last 10 episodes, if you miss something, you got to go back. Like it's mandatory watching. But because this was a Jim Henson joint, they also have the most incredible Muppets. These animatronics they're so good. We saw how they did Baby Yoda in The Mandalorian, and that Baby Yoda, I'm so glad they didn't CG that thing. If you love that, there literally is a character named Rigel, and he's a frog. He's what, 2 feet tall, if that, 18 inches, something.
Yeah.
I mean,
If
Yeah,
that.
he's like this big, and he's a frogman, and he's an emperor of, I think he says something like 5 billion life forms or something like that. So he basically is like they're kind of like their thief. He's the rogue of their party, and he's always stealing stuff, and he's eating all their damn food. And you have these great moments with this little hand puppet, and it moves you. And then they have on the other side of that Pilot, who is ostensibly just the part that you see, approximately 10 to 12 feet tall with giant mechanicalized arms. And there are moments in this show where these just, latex Muppets will emote, and you're moved by them. And I'm talking like a sincere, like you want to tear up and you feel for them. So, I just love it. I love it so much.
No, yeah. It's one of those shows that I tell people you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it when you watch it for the first time. And then when you watch it and you get through to the end, and of course, don't forget the Peacekeeper Wars movie at the very end to wrap everything
Of course,
up.
yeah, because it actually ended on a giant cliffhanger. Yes.
Right.
Still angry. Still
always
about
angry
that.
about that.
Forever angry about that.
But when you get to the end and you want to rewatch it again, keep your eyes open, keep your mind open, because you will see something every time you watch that show. There's something new that pops up, and you'll see symbolism and layers upon layers upon layers of storytelling in there. And it's just keep peeling back that onion. It's such an amazing show.
And it really is the front. I'm sorry, Bethany, go ahead. I was just going to say, it really is the frontier.
It really is just, it's just really absolutely amazing. And for anyone who's catching up on it now, just be grateful that you don't have to do the thing that we all did and wait for people to come out.
Yeah.
So they can resolve the cliffhanger.
Well, the thing that sucked about what happened with Farscape was that Sci-Fi and what was it, Australia Sky One, I think was the cable company that was running.
So yeah.
Yeah, they were basically splitting budgets between these two. And so what happened is that Sky One basically decided to pull out. They're like, you know what? We're not going to do the production anymore. If you want to continue to produce Farscape, which they loved and they were making bank on, but they just couldn't afford to carry that nut anymore. They didn't want to lose that production because it was like one of the #1 shows in Australia. They said, you're going to have to pony up the other, half of the budget. And Sci-Fi's like, for what we're paying for Farscape, we can make like 3 other TV shows. And I hate them for making that decision. But they very, very rudely yanked it away because it was renewed. We had a season 5. And then they said, yeah, you know what? We're not going to do that. But because they chose not to tell the production staff until they had already finished the storyline, it was ending on a to be continued. So defiantly, the Henson Company said, you know what? You're going to F with us. We're going to F with you. And they literally, on the final episode of the show, put to be continued. And they were basically like, do something. It's a baller move. It was a baller move.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, too, if you have any inkling of watching this, and the cast and the crew came to DragonCon 2019, and there's always been questioning, like, are you going to continue this show? And they always keep saying, well, we're thinking about it, whatever else. Well, the word they gave there was, if you have any desire to watch this show for the first time or rewatch it at all, go to Amazon Prime, bring up the 4 seasons, and play them as soon as you can, because they're watching those numbers. And that's going to be what's going to drive them maybe to a season 5 or 6 or whatever else to continue the story. But the downside to Amazon Prime, of course, is you will not find the Peacekeeper Wars movie on there. You have to go find it somewhere else to resolve the end of the story. But
it's true.
Yeah.
But by the way, prepare yourself. We're not going to spoil it. It ends in such heartbreak that the final scene of Farscape will rip your heart out, and they'll stomp on it, and then again they're just going to go do something.
like I said, I have been angry about that season ending for over 10 years now.
It's brutal.
It ends on a brutal screen
anytime soon.
Yeah. And now, to be fair, though, the Peacekeeper Wars is a 4-hour miniseries, so you do get 4 or more episodes, and you can tell if they'd have had their 12 or 15 episodes, how they would have done all of them, because they crammed in every single plot point into that 4 hours.
Basically, it's like the greatest season treatment. So you will just see, okay, so this is everywhere we were going to go with this. We're going to pack this into this amount of time so that we can all see it. And I'm like, oh, good. Because, like, I've never been, hilariously, I think I was never as angry about Firefly as I was about Farscape.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yes.
I was like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. It's Fox.
Right.
And I was just like, first gate. I'm like, I'm gonna go torch somebody's house. I'm like, where the producer live?
I'm gonna go find the president of Sci-Fi. We're gonna have words.
I'm like, where does this producer live? We're gonna find him. We're gonna have words. I'm like, torches and pitchforks.
I mean, I feel you spiritually. I'm right there with you. You know, I really am. And the thing that I love about this show, and the thing that I always thought was so great about it, was that just like we talked about yesterday on Deep Space Nine, our retrospective on that, these characters make choices, and these choices have radical consequences, and those consequences radically change the characters. So the characters you start with in episode 1, season 1, are radically different from when you get to the end of the Peacekeeper Wars. And it's all earned. There's not a moment where they don't say, oh, well, that happened off screen. They find a way to show you those changes. And a great example is Scorpius, the main bad guy. When he shows up, there is a moment near the very, very end. And this is not a spoiler because I'm not going to tell you how we get to this point. But there's a moment where Scorpius has seen what his machinations have wrought. And he's talking to the main character, John Crichton, and he said, and John Crichton's like, see, this is what happens when you do what I told you not to do. Because the whole show is basically about how John Crichton just wants people to leave him the F alone, so he can go home.
Yeah,
and
it's Space Odyssey. He just wants to go home.
It is. And Christina's right. I mean, Christina, she's being snarky now. She's saying it's turned to a Farscape panel. I'm okay with that, quite honestly. But to be fair, though, there's this moment where Scorpius looks at John Crichton, and Crichton's like, look what you've wrought. And literally, he says, I can stop it, but you have to basically say pretty please. And he makes the villain come to him and bring him low. And he has to whisper in Crichton's ear, and he's like, please do what you can do.
Pretty please with the cherry on top.
Yeah, pretty please with the cherry on top.
Yes,
guys. Okay.
Yeah,
go watch this show.
Again, to say anything else would be giving you way too many spoilers.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's safe to say that nobody on this show is holding the idiot ball.
No.
And it's just masterful in its characterization, guys. It's definitely worth it.
The reason I say that people will either love it or hate it is because it is a Jerry Springer type of family. So if that's your jam, you get to dig
All
it.
families have problems.
It's very dysfunctional. You are very true on that, Michael. But you know what? I know that we have occupied this particular space for a little while, so we should move on from that. Donald, I'm going to come back to you because I know you got some more suggestions for us. So hit us with another suggestion, sir. What's another great sci-fi western that we should all check out?
Okay, I mean, I just want to shout out real quick, not to Westworld the show, but the original movie, because that's what kind of got me on board with the
Yul Brynner one.
With the whole concept of, like, I was a little kid and I was watching it, and there was like a scene, and I'm like, the robots or they're androids or what's going on? What?
Mm-hmm.
This is so cool. So I just wanted to mention that because I know we would probably at some point talk about the show, or maybe not. And just
we gave the Farscape show for a second. Sorry about that.
no, it's okay. And another one that is just fresh in my mind that I wanted to talk about. I talked about it a little bit on one of the other panels. I don't remember which one. It was Solo. Was very very Western, and just it had everything from.
It hits all those tropes.
Yeah,
every Western trope you can imagine. Yeah,
you got the poker games or the sabacc games. You got the train robberies. You got the heists. You got everything you could possibly want.
Yeah,
and
I mean, you even have the chase at the end, right? You have basically like a carriage chase. I mean, you have all of it.
Yeah. I mean, oh gosh, no, Westworld the movie, and that has its own little subsection in my binder. Because yes, I did.
Right.
And God, Yul Brynner for life, man. Yul Brynner for life.
Yul Brynner was so good at this, and you know what?
Get it.
He can't. But you know what's really funny about this is Yul Brynner is essentially, for as far as cinema's concerned, is essentially the first Terminator. I mean, that's basically what he is in this movie. He's a Terminator who's pissed off at humans because they keep killing him, and he's like, it's time for payback. And you kind of don't blame him. Like, I mean,
he is so utterly, completely compelling, and you totally buy into it. And to the point where you're at the end of the movie going, what is going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, God, no. But Yul Brynner for life. I mean, I think that's probably actually my favorite performance of him.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of westerns that I'd put right there with it, but no, he's so scary in that movie when he starts hunting down the residents, you know, and he's trying to find them. Oh my gosh! And that first time when you see the face come off, right, and that face reveal. My dad talks about that. He was in his early 20s when that movie came out, and he talks about how shocked he was when that face pops off, and he's like, no.
And actually, there are a bunch of like movie props from the original movie in the first season.
There is.
You can see a lot of them in Ford's office.
His hat, isn't Yul Brynner's hat one of the props that he could have taken? Right?
It's one of the props. You can also see some of the other face models are based off of some of that. But also, man, going back to watching the original Westworld movie and just looking at how they were adjusting those decisions on the fly. And I'm just sitting here looking at that going, okay, the amount of coding that takes and the amount I'm like, do these people ever leave these desks? I don't think
also they make it almost look like they're plumbers, right? Like, you know, well, we're just going to tighten up his aggression here. Right? Like, you know, we're going to make her a little bit more sexy. We're going to make him a little more bossy. We're going to make him a little more psychotic. You know, like, it's weird.
It's very much. It's like they're playing. It's like playing a choose your own, or you know, like doing a choose your own adventure game.
We got smart asses in the commentary there. We got
exactly.
Yeah, that's a friend of mine.
Yeah. Only it's playing like against God. It's like playing a choose your own adventure game with God.
Yeah, it's true. It really is true.
It's
good though.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, it really, really is. But you know, Eric, we haven't had a chance to let you take center stage for a second here, and I want you and Christina to have a shot because I know me and Michael and Bethany went on Farscape tangent to like end Farscape tangent. So we're going to defer to you three for a moment. So what's another one that you would like to suggest for people to check out?
I mean, I was the one that had Wynonna, so I was right there with you on the Farscape nerding out. But hold on, let me get a visual.
Okay.
Because this is technically a cheat, but it is so heavily inspired by westerns, it's not even funny.
Okay.
Have you seen Turbo Kid?
The Turbo Kid?
Wow, I haven't thought about Turbo Kid.
Wait, Sean, you've never seen Turbo Kid?
Not in a long time.
Not in a long ass time.
Never seen this.
It's been a hot minute.
No, you know what? I'm going to let you have your thought on this one, but I'm going to go no. I'm going to be the dissenting opinion on this one. Like no, but please continue.
Well, no, it's all about, you know, a kid who is on his own and grew up basically reading like old school comic books and finds this literal like super suit and has to be like the last man standing against like this ultimate evil in his colony, because he's basically the outsider of this big like colony that he lives near, and stands up to the guy as like the last man standing, finds this girl who may or may not be a real person. I don't want to reveal too much there because Turbo Kid is a hell of a movie and it's well worth watching. And
it was orange or apple or something like that, right?
Apple.
Right. Yeah.
But that's why I'm saying like it might not be like a straight, because it's technically a cheat in my opinion, because it's not a straight up Western and obviously heavily relies on its sci-fi stuff. But I mean, it's like that last man standing, kind of like the sheriff going up against the ultimate bad guy for the colony that he lives near. Like I said, it's like a cheat, but it's to say it's not inspired by Westerns would be insane.
Right. Well, let's give you a little bit of credit, though, because not you specifically, but give the movie a little bit of credit. It also has Michael Ironside in it. And anytime you have Michael Ironside in a movie, that's going to be a fun time. I mean, that dude, I love watching him. Like, one of my favorite things from the series, right, is you get Ham, who is just hard as nails, badass, who wants to kick the crap out of aliens, you know? And then he goes on and he plays opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall. He was the original Scanner in Scanners. He was of dubious origins when he is the second bad guy in Highlander 2. which I kind of feel dirty just even mentioning that. But I probably the one that most people remember him from is he's Rorschach in the Roughnecks for Starship Troopers. He's the teacher missing the arm. And Michael Ironside is a delight. He is a genre king. So whenever he shows up, you're going to have a good time. So again, just for that, I think you at least get, to say this movie is deserving of going and checking it out. So I can't call foul on this at all. But it's been a hot minute since I thought about that movie, because that was what, 5-6 years ago when it came out?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me look real fast. It probably says it on here.
Turbo Kid.
No, it's not there.
Hey,
I think it was
Sasha.
2015, 2016.
2015.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, Christina, we're getting down to like the last 10 or 15 minutes. So we're going to give you final shot before we start doing some rapid fire, but we start closing this bad boy up. So what's another sci-fi Western that you love that you would like to suggest to people?
This more falls into the realm of, it has sci-fi in it, but it's more a dystopian kung fu Western.
Yes.
And that's Into the Badlands.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yes.
It is. Mwah. It's the first in a long time a series that puts in just martial arts, just like some of the best martial arts choreography I have seen in TV and movie combined for years. And it ran for 3 seasons on AMC. AMC did it dirty though, but like they gave it a budget, but they did not advertise for it. And so it just kind of fell by the wayside, and like they gave all the advertising to fucking freaking Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But it stars Daniel Wu. Louis Tang came in towards the end. Nick Frost.
Yeah.
When you make Nick Frost a badass, it automatically becomes like the best show. And they don't even do it in a comedic
no, it's not
a Beverly Hills Ninja kind of way.
It's not tongue-in-cheek at all. It's very legit.
No, like he legit becomes a badass and does all these moves and stunt work, and it's like, holy shit, you don't see Nick Frost doing this because he's mostly in comedy, and it is so good.
Season one, Martin Sokas as one of the main bad guys. God, I mean, like, that is literally like blood chillingly cold. He's just, I mean, you give him credit, like that.
Oh man, he played the best,
and it's just so good. Yeah, that's another one that was on the list that we got to in like the last year, and I was just like, oh man, like, it's just. Yeah,
it's the 3 seasons are on Netflix, so you can go watch it, and I highly recommend it because it needs the love. It needs it.
Absolutely.
And like it's got an Asian lead. You don't see that. You don't see that often.
Yeah, and I know, like, when people they think of Nick Frost and they're like, "What? Why would I care that he's in this show?" And it's like, you have to understand, everybody who shows up in this show is like a badass. Like, nobody shows up and it's just like, "Oh, I'm the cook," like that doesn't happen in this show. You might be the cook, but you're the cook who could throw a frying pan like 40 miles away, and like you're going to hit somebody in the back of the head. And while you're doing it, you're beating the crap out of 15 ninjas. I mean, you are very much a multitasker, and it's kind of like, and I know this is not an apples to apples comparison, but it kind of reminds me of Kevin James when he did Here Comes the Boom. Everybody's like, there's no way that Kevin James could ever remotely portray an MMA fighter, not knowing that the man used to actually be an MMA fighter, right? And when you start seeing him in the movie, comedy aside, he starts throwing haymakers, and there's one moment where he does this spinning roundhouse kick, and you're like, did that dude just do what I thought I saw him do? And it totally works. And it's, we lost Eric, but there he is. But it's one of those moments where it's like, I love it when they start showing people that you don't normally see in action movies get a chance. And I love the fact that, quite frankly, a person of a more heavier body type gets a chance to be a badass, because we don't get to see that all that often.
No.
And I love that.
And it's just, it's breathtaking, guys. Like, you watch the pilot, and like, this is not something that you can just casually watch while you're doing other things.
It's going to absorb your attention. Yeah.
I guarantee you will wind up sitting, finding yourself sitting up at the TV going.
The set pieces of every fight scene is just so mesmerizing. You don't want to do anything else but watch it and absorb it.
Yeah.
So, and me being a person with martial arts background, I was just like, they're doing it. They're doing stuff so well.
Right.
Like,
and you know what? That matters. That really does matter because you see so much lazy. Like, I remember in the early 2000s, you got all this crazy martial arts and all these crazy kung fu on wires movies and whatnot. And it was like they were phoning it in. And it just felt so lazy. And what I really hate about that was it made it almost impossible to watch a lot of movies and shows from that era because you could just feel they didn't have the passion for it. And then later on, they tightened it up.
And I think you were sitting with me when we were watching some fight scene on an older show or movie. And it was like, that's not how they do that. That can't be done. It is
we've done that quite a bit. Yeah.
That person needs to not throw their arm, but throw their bodies. Like, I was nitpicking because I was also a teacher and a judge, or in a ref. And it's like, so it gave me the feels when something like Into the Badlands got everything so tight. It was like several chef kisses. All day, every day.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Who, me?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something.
No. I thought she was going to high five God. That's what she was gonna do. But no, it actually reminds me of personally watching Mr. Robot as a computer guy and going, oh, that's kind of really how you do it. And and it's just like so nice to see that, especially when it's your job or something you're really passionate about. And then they're not just like hitting keyboard buttons like this.
And they're actually doing it slowly.
Yeah, they're actually doing what they do, which is like mostly social engineering and a little bit of computer work.
Right. It's not Swordfish, right? Where Hugh Jackman is, Oh God, that's. But if we're going to talk about the worst offender of computer, just chicanery, hackers, right? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's the most fun thing in the world, though.
But it's a fun movie. But oh man, that is so not
the world, Sean.
Someone give me a flu shot.
see, and I'm sitting here going, I'm like, yeah, there are people who will go with me to see historical movies because I'm a historian, purely to watch my reaction to the movie.
Right, just to watch you twitch, like,
or as one of my best friends did to physically keep me in my seat as I tried to get out of my seat because oh my God, that's wrong. That is the Magna Carta, and that is 17 years too early.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So,
I feel you.
Especially, I have concentrations in like the Crusades and the Cold War. So there's a lot of movies where I'm just like,
yeah.
Well, we're almost out of time here, folks. We're running right up against it. So we've been going almost an hour now. And I want to give one shout out to one of the comments because I thought this was a good one, which is, does anybody remember the cartoon Brave Star?
Wow.
No.
That's a deep cut. If you've never seen this, it was in the same vein of like Thundercats and Silverhawks. And it was the same production companies. And it's literally this Native American in space. And he's more or less a Texas Ranger, but he's able to get like the powers of Falcon and Coyote and all this other stuff. If you've never seen it, I think it ran for 2 or 3 seasons.
Something like that.
Yeah, go watch it. It's a
long time ago.
I mean, this is like early 80s. This is like 84, 85. So, I mean, it's been a hot minute since probably people brought up Brave Star. But it literally is like space Texas Rangers. I mean, it really, really kind of is. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a criticism. It's just that's what the Brave Star is. And the fact is that cartoon gets overlooked a lot because most people look at stuff like, Silverhawks, because Silverhawks is a kind of a sci-fi Western, really. And other kind of movies and or cartoons really kind of took the spotlight away from it, even though it is almost the most literal sci-fi Western because the dude dude is on a mechanical horse and he's got freaking laser pistols. And I mean, it really is a literal sci-fi Western cartoon. And that is a true rarity these days. But thanks so much for that comment. That was a great one, Leroy. And I hate to say it, but we got to start wrapping up, guys.
Oh,
No.
So I know it's been an hour. We came in right at about 5-6 minutes in, so we're right at the hour. So I want to thank everybody who was on this panel. I want to thank Eric. I want to thank Donald. I want to thank Michael. I want to thank Bethany, and of course I want to thank Christina for all being here. You guys made this so much fun, and I know that I'm going to have some fun going back and finding this and listening to a new podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to look forward to that.
I'm about to drive home, so perfect.
Right. Well, no, John. When you're driving home, you're going to listen to us, right? You're going to listen to.
Oh yeah. I'm going to listen to Pop Con.
plug. No, but seriously, it's been so much fun. For those of you who are out there watching, thank you so much for checking us out and hanging out with us. We only have 2 panels left. The next panel we have is at 7:30. It is for New Trek, which is where we're going to talk about the new era of Star Trek. So we're going to be talking about the Lower Decks, Picard, and we're also Bethany was like, I'm out. Like, she just totally bounced.
No, goodbye. Goodbye.
She's okay, hold on. There she is. You don't want to talk about it? No New Trek for you? Like, nope, I'm out.
No, I literally have no idea what just happened there.
Oh, that was funny, though. That was actually kind of perfect. But we're going to be talking about that. And then our final panel of the night, which is going to be at 9 o'clock, is going to be the best movies that you've probably never seen. And we're going to make some suggestions of flicks that have come out more recently than not that you probably have not had an opportunity to see. And I do hope that you'll come and join us for that. But again, thank you so much for watching. And again, my panelists, you guys were all freaking fantastic. Thank you for hanging out with us. And everybody, I do believe this is actually Donald's last panel with us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for hanging out with us, Donald. I think this is Christina's last panel. I think this is actually the only person who's coming back for another panel is Michael. I think.
Unless you have like, because I literally just dropped in when I heard Kareen wasn't going to be on this panel anymore.
Right.
So, like, if anyone else is dropping out, I'll maybe.
No, we can. Like I said, we can bring you in. It's no problem. Yeah. But no, like I said, you guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for helping making this experiment and this weekend so successful. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope we get to do this again very soon. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much, and everybody, we will see you in just about 20 minutes or so. So come back for 7:30, where we're going to talk about New Trek, and we will see you then. Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.